um, and as promised, I was going to look at the sort of messaging and what could be a reasonable build out of the website that right now is just a single page, so a very simple one. So um, when I started working with the messaging for Unimatrix, it's pretty clear to me that there are no spoken, I would say, user benefits, but it's very centered around, this is the technical project that we're aiming at. And I believe in the group, we all have our perception of what that means. But in order to communicate this to the world, we need to put it down. So I've actually focused a little bit on that. So let me just share my screen with the Word document. I did play a little bit around. Essentially, also we would need to have obviously the governing board or the governance board involvement and approval of this. But I just wanted to run this by you. So open share tray. Let's do this. Right. You should be able to see my Word document now. Is that right?
Yeah, I can see.
Excellent. So I thought of a more catching tagline than what we had, because not that it's wrong, but it's very technical. But put down two options. One actually being, we are accelerating the edge innovation that's happening at scale, which is sort of an important aspect here. And we're doing that by the open collaboration. And then I put physical security. I actually had a look at the Linux Foundation, all the projects and groups, and there are so many, doing that have to do with, at the edge and IoT. So in order to really pinpoint what it is that we're addressing, it's the physical security and it's the edge thing or side of things. I don't know what you think of that, whether it's too much or not precise enough.
I think the tagline is brilliant, actually. So I think it's good.
Yeah, excellent. So my second option would have been building an open source framework for edge applications for security. I just thought that the first one says a little bit more. Anyway, so I wanted actually to jump down to our goals, because that is really not stated anywhere what we want to achieve, except that we want to do a reference implementation and as a framework. But what does that mean in terms of benefits that we want to achieve, right? I mean, that's a deliverable. So I thought of three things. One is the cross-industry collaboration, involving obviously physical security, but also sort of the whole cloud aspect. So that's one. The second one is that we want to accelerate the adoption. So not having each company individually develop their own framework, and all the small developers need to replicate that and adapt. But by doing this framework, it's the acceleration of the whole adoption in the industry, which again should escalate the pace of innovation. So we are enabling all players to accelerate the adoption of this, as well as bringing out the innovation more and more. So that's the second key point. And the third one is actually thinking of the end users, that they don't have to worry about picking that camera vendor with that specific analytics, and then they couldn't use that if they chose another vendor. So that whole thing for the end user means that they can pick and choose. It's the same platform, so they can go ahead and actually specify their requirements, and that will be equally distributed across an implementation. So for the end user, even that represents tremendous value. So I think we have with these 3 goals, we're thinking about the end user. What's the key value for the end user? What's the key value for the players, particularly the smaller, app developers, and the whole industry collaboration. I thought of that as the 3 main points why we're actually doing this in the first place. Am I getting that right?
Yes, you're
Or
talking.
am I missing something here?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the goals. Then, what we do is pretty much the description. I've kind of broken up in 3 sentences. The description that we already have, that we're doing the open source reference implementation. We are, making cloud native applications run at the edge, and then the whole development, management, deployment, orchestration, execution, which is a lot of container-based applications. That's more down to what we actually do, and I kind of left that unaltered. And then what is Unimatrix? So that's basically just a description of an industry initiative with the open platform. So I think with that in mind, and if you kind of agree to that, I will at the next GB meeting run that through, so we get everybody's consent to that. Maybe a few tweaks here and there, but going into the website, which is I would say not the main vehicle, because that will be GitLab, but a very important component in actually communicating the message. Going from the 1 page, we could over time build out a structure like this, which seems to be pretty common for a lot of the other projects. But how do people get involved? What are the resources? And obviously that would point heavily to GitLab. We can then build resources out to whenever somebody wants to produce white papers and other forms of documentation. News and events, once we start hitting news media and stuff, blog options. So there are a lot of things we can build on, but I kind of with green highlighted the 2 main points here, which is how do people get involved, and what are the resources, unless we just leave it for people to troll through GitLab. So with that, the objective right now is that we want to attract new members, we want to spread the message, and we want to enable easy sharing of material. Now I realize that there's already a lot of stuff on GitLab, but and I assume a lot of the developing companies would be quite familiar with GitLab. I was not initially, so for me it was a little bit of a daunting task getting an overview. And then what I think we should take up as a discussion topic is, and I already raised that, and Makoto-san, you raised it as well. What do we want to achieve eventually with this collaboration, this framework? Is this going to be a facilitator, like a platform, like an app store where everybody can go and get the app? So we kind of become the platform for that, or is it just sharing the technical material, and how people go about implementing it within their respective channels is really up to them. I'm looking at the OSSA initiative, and I think their step of building like a whole app store around this. I'm not worried about the revenue and money involved, but just the fact that this is a one platform where app developers can chip in, put on their apps, end users can go and an easy way fetch their stuff. I think that's a very appealing thing. So in GB, I think we should raise that as a topic. Where do we want to take this, right? Is it just gonna be this is?
Maybe I could have a comment. You have a lot
Go ahead, Willie.
ecosystems. So So it's a choice. Do we want other ecosystems to use Unimatrix as interoperability between apps, or do we want to build our own ecosystem? So you could reach a wider area if you have other ecosystems actually using Unimatrix as well. So, for example, you mentioned Vavre initiative that they are building an app store. They could, in theory, use Unimatrix. So maybe we should have a separation between the ecosystem and the technical work reaching interoperability. But that doesn't exclude that you actually do an ecosystem as well. But maybe we should have it divided anyway.
Yeah, I'm not including any of that in sort of the first step at all in terms of building the website. I'm just thinking, longer term, we need to be clear on how we want to do this. But right now, it doesn't really have any impact on the work at hand. So it was just raising that. Really.
But of course, it's important to see how we relate to different ecosystems. If you want to approach different ecosystems and say, could you have interoperability with Unimatrix? Because then those ecosystems could reach more hardware products.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion, I guess, in the steering group.
Yeah. So for the page and content priority, obviously, the objective and purpose and attracting new members, but also looking at the GitLab, should be GitLab. I understand we're using sort of a standard template in that. Does that need to adapt a little bit or not? Is it still and I'm a little bit on shaky ground, thin ice here on that. Anyway, so that's the high priority right now, that we get that established, so the messaging and sort of easy access to material. Longer term, when we assign new white papers and stuff, that can be done in long term. Not even going to mention that right now. As we mentioned, that's a slightly different question. Anyways, there are a couple of as I went along in creating this, a couple of two questions that I came along with. One is the funding. Per already addressed that. It's built into the whole charter, governance charter, that this is non-profit and it's based on voluntary membership. But I just see from the perspective of building websites, cost starting to come, not massive, but a little bit. So we will need to establish a budget for this and either get somebody to chip in a small group or do it otherwise. So that's one of the action points that comes immediately after this. I'm not sure that I'm gonna rewrite the WordPress template and everything. So I would appreciate having sort of the web agency actually do that for us, and that comes a little bit of cost, not massive. I assume Access has so far consumed that cost of making that first page.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I have no clue how much it is, but it can't be that much. It was relatively simple, but what we're asking is a bit of artwork. It's a few more pages. It's a building out of the template, so it comes, right? I still consider it pocket money for now, not massive, but we never know when that will take off. Anyways, the membership.
Yeah, we have a graphics and we have a color schemes and so making additional pages shouldn't be so much work compared, because we already decided on those graphical stuff.
True. Now I have built based on design templates. I have built web pages before, but I've not created additional web designs or web pages templates in WordPress. And as I can see it, this is a new template that's being built from a ground up, and it doesn't contain a lot of different pages. Anyways, let's leave that for now. I'm just flagging that we will need to figure that out and maybe come up with a budget. I stumbled across the membership process or signing up. Right now, it's based on an email that is sent, or even people signing up to GitLab as contributors. So right now, that's a very simple process. The question is, do we want to keep it like that? Or do we want to make the process via the web page and then facilitate that into the GitLab? Depends on how we want to control it. I would definitely so we do have a code of conduct that people need to adhere to. Right now, I don't think that's part of the sign-up process. Just one of the documents that, hey, bear it down. By the way, when you sign up, you kind of, agree to adhere to this. So should that be actually part of, formal agreement process, so we get a better registration of what companies are signing up and them agreeing to it? It's not extremely complicated to build out, but right now it's completely based on the GitLab registration. We have the 3 membership levels: governance, contributor, maintainer. Are we going to maintain those, or the names of those? I think they, for now, it's okay, actually, in my view.
On Git, you're actually a personal member. When you're signing up to Git, you do it as a person and developer.
Yeah.
So we don't have a company concept when signing up in Git.
Good point. So assuming this is mostly going to be actually companies signing up, maybe there should actually be like a formal agreement signing off process. We binding people legally to code of conduct that are signing up as individuals and not companies. Not that I foresee a major legal battle here. I'm very pertinent on getting that legal process right.
I guess when you separate, everybody could sign up to Git and actually contribute to projects in Git. But if you want to be part of these meetings that we are doing right now, then you probably need to sign up the company. So that could be a division, that to participate in these meetings, then you have to sign up your company and sign the code of conduct.
Yeah. So it's still completely open source in the sense of collaboration. But if you want to be part of Unimatrix and branded with Unimatrix, potentially even eventually with logo on the web page, then that would require a little bit more than that, and that potentially could also come with a very small membership fee, right? Which could be one way still a non-profit organization, but covering the cost. We need to discuss that with Per, because that has implications. Other open source, some other open source projects are doing that like that actually comes with a membership cost. So it's not unique.
But then you have to have a registered brand, so we have to look at that if you want to be able to control.
Yeah.
And we haven't looked at that since Unimatrix is
For
us.
No. Let's have the discussion. I'm just thinking a little bit ahead that there could be a way of formalizing registration and securing a little bit of funding for covering the basic cost, right? If we eventually wanted to go out and place ads in connection with trade shows, if we wanted to have a presence on a trade show, then suddenly the cost starts to escalate. And we have the whole story similar to Unviv, that comes across. We can still do it at very, very, very low cost. Anyways, those are the questions that I raised. It doesn't have a big impact right now. We can still get started, but those are, I think, things that we need to take into account. So I looked at restructuring the website, and now you need to use your best imagination. Are you seeing the presentation view now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be a web page that you scroll. But anyways, there's the connection to the Linux Foundation, stated up here, and I see a lot of projects do that. So we might as well. It's a good backup to have. The couple of tabs, of which we wouldn't necessarily have news and events right now. But that's home. There's the tagline, and then scrolling down would be the description. What is that what is Unimatrix? Don't mind the graphics. And then what are the goals on this? So still simple, but easy to understand what we want to achieve, and easy to actually scroll through. This is not something that requires a lot of maintenance. It's relatively static. So
Jensen, why don't you delete about?
Why don't I delete what?
About. So maybe about can explain the Unimatrix in detail. Therefore, so the viewer can find what is the Unimatrix by checking the about.
So this is the home button that kind of has that.
Yeah, I understood. However, so in case of OnBeef, so in about menu, to our mission, organization, FAQ, member list are listed. Therefore, so I think so. The about menu is very important.
Right.
And
I actually have that a little bit.
If you would like to explain the concept of Unimatrix, so maybe home is available. However, the detailed explanation should be described in the about menu. How do you feel?
So yeah, I mean, we can easily do that. I actually had that under the get involved, but maybe not very apparent. Again, so this would be scrolling further down. What we're achieving. So this is one page that you're looking at. The three that I just covered.
Oh, really? Maybe.
Yeah.
So
this is like one page you're scrolling, a little bit further down, and then at the end of that home page.
Maybe so. I think so. The Unimatrix concept is very complex. Therefore, so for sure, so you can explain the rough explanation on the home. However, so I think so. The about menu is very important. So because
what would you have in that? I mean, what?
For example, so in your document, so so the viewer can't understand so the architecture of the Unimatrix. So Unimatrix is edge and side and so cloud. So the OCI image, so container image can be shared among them. So therefore, so why? So for sure, so the simple concept can be explained. However, so the detailed concept and purpose and such a detailed mission. So Unimatrix mission should be explained in detail. maybe I think so. Unimatrix website should be similar to the ONBIF or Linux Foundation like that. Both of them have the about menu.
Okay. Yeah,
but so if this is more stylish than ONBIF and the Linux Foundation web pages, and if you think so, this is one of the options.
Yeah, I mean, I just put in 3 random pictures, so by all means, this is not final. But yeah.
What do you think about it, Willie-san?
I agree about is usually found on web pages. So yeah, I understand your thinking that sometimes you're looking for the about, and then you get the mission statement and some information surrounding that, and maybe the history of Unimatrix, why we started it, and so. So I think we could have an about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No problem.
This is just a design policy.
Yeah. I will include a section, about where we have the mission, the history. I kind of took a little bit of the structure under Get Involved, explaining how each of the yeah, but it's not from the structure perspective. It's more how can you get involved. So I get the point. So the mission, the architecture. Would we want to explain something about overall the technology involved?
Maybe not in the about. Maybe relationship between Unimatrix and Linux Foundation. That could be described in about.
Okay.
Maybe technology description should be described in the GitHub. GitHub can share the source code. In addition, so the some document can be written in it.
I made the section resources. This is if we chose to have the sign up on the Unimatrix site instead of GitLab, but the resources we can put in, and we can put in references to the GitLab. I would hate to have documentation on the website as well as in GitLab, so it's a clean link to GitLab. We can do different pointers, whether it's a repository or something else. But we shouldn't post it here anyways. There should be links to it.
But information, since you're not updating the website.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Much.
Yeah. That would be suicide. Going for that. So thanks, but no thanks. So include an about section that would contain the mission, the history, maybe the relationship between Linux Foundation and Unimatrix. Overall, maybe the the typical block diagram of the architecture in rough, so people can see a clear picture. And okay, so this is actually what's meant by it. I can do a draft of that. Yeah, so I didn't include anything on the news and events, and that would not appear straight away. But how does that sound as a start? I think it's relatively simple. It's not extremely complicated. It's rather static once it's produced, but it gives a little bit more explanation of what Unimatrix is, something we can point people towards.
No, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do too much right at this point. We need to just make the next step.
Exactly, and this would be sort of the next step. Once it's done, we can leave it there for, I guess, a while, and then eventually, when we decide to build out, there's a platform to build out on this. All the important work is happening in GitLab. Okay. I did not make a plan on how we're actually going to recruit new partners. I didn't include that in this draft, but that is obviously the next step. How do we attract? And I think mainly app developers into this. I guess that would be the logical next step to get some that can actually contribute with applications here, right? Or are we still at a stage where we need more device manufacturers to chip in?
So, as iPro suggested before, so the current Unimatrix project has the camera vendors and the BMS vendor and test vendor, anything, etc. However, so I think so the BMS vendor, and in addition, so AI application developers are very few. Therefore, so we think so such companies should be attracted. And if so, Linux Foundation is useful for the attracting. So we will consult that thing with Linux Foundation. So in the past time, so Parson was told us to communicate with Linux Foundation. Wilson, do you have any progress about that?
Per had the contact with Linux Foundation, but we should ask him to get the contact for the communication, since if we want to discuss participating in their events, we should have a joint meeting with a participant from Linux Foundation. So I could ask there.
But in all reality, I think getting the word out in Linux Foundation is good. I just know from experience that the kind of app developers we're looking for are typically working in smaller companies with scarce resources, and they won't necessarily, or they will be very reluctant to signing up to a project like this that hasn't really materialized. That can't bring them anything right now until a long time frame. So I think realistically, the only viable way for attracting app developers is active recruitment of these companies. Pick some start off with that, get some success stories. I don't see anybody saying that they have developers that are doing nothing and they are looking for time to spend on projects like this. So it would have to be very active recruitment. Being backed by Linux Foundation obviously helps, but this is not an easy task.
I understood I understood your opinion. So, however, this project is to share the container image with cloud side and edge, and therefore, the opinion of AI application vendors is very important. However, we don't have any insights of them.
No.
Therefore, it should be improved in Unimatrix project, I think.
Well, yeah, we completely agree to that target. It's just how we're going to do it.
This item.
We need to have a minimal viable product, if you say, to get the app developers going.
Yeah.
So when we do our first 1.0 release, that should be the minimal that they need to be able to be active.
Yeah, and exactly. And do they actually have cameras? Then once we've released that, do they actually have cameras that they can put this into and it will work? All the other questions are then starting to rise. How they're going to handle licensing? Not going to go down that route today, but those are all considerations. Anyways, we should look at all ways to get the message out, and definitely by the Linux Foundation, the events that they participate in. What we also could think of, and OSSA actually did that in the early days. They invested heavily in trade shows, very heavily, and went out even before it was formally launched and showed some case studies or references, and this is what you can do to attract the awareness within the industry. I think that was a smart move, but it's definitely cost a lot of money.
But going to the Linux Foundation events, I think if you change the mindset of the people attending to see that, you could do this with edge devices soon. You haven't started thinking about it. To prepare them for when we get out, when they know what it's all about. They heard it before and they know what to do.
Yeah.
And you could even get some comments and feedback from these events, I think.
Yeah. So reaching out to Per, asking if we could get in touch with the contact just to see what's on the horizon for the next 6-12 months in terms of ways of getting this out.
Yeah, we want to know what is Linux Foundation doing now. Are they going to open up with conferences? What is their time plan?
I don't think Vegas is right on their drawing board right now.
Maybe
unfortunately,
in the winter time, I think maybe it should start again. But let's see.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay. So we have at the next GB meeting. I don't know when that is, but that's anytime soon, I guess. We have a couple of discussion points. I will revise the presentation and include the about section. I may reach out to you when it comes to describing the architecture, so forth. But getting us a draft as complete as possible. Billy, could you reach out to Per in the meantime and ask about if he could check the Linux plans?
Yeah, sure. I will ask him what we need to have a Linux Foundation contact from our community.
Yeah. Okay. So the next GB meeting, we will discuss and hopefully agree on the messaging, which is sort of more or less the only way that prevents us from moving ahead. But we, as I heard it today, we agree on the first draft of the messaging overall. Yeah. So I think that's actually what we wanted to achieve today. Any further comments? Notes?
So, about your document should be reviewed by the Unimatrix members, and if you upload the documents to the GitHub, and so I will distribute the questionnaire to the Unimatrix members, and so I would like to confirm their feedback about these documents.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think we should include the about section first, so we get a little bit more complete document. But I should be able to have that done by sort of by hopefully next week. So we need a little bit of time. I need a little bit of time to do that.
Okay, it's no problem.
Yeah, but I can ping you when it's ready. I'll send it out to the CC deflector, and then we could go ahead and actually get members' comments, like you said, to move forward.
So especially I would like to confirm the Frederickson's opinion. So because the construction of the website depends on the how we provide the technology with the developers. Therefore, his opinion is very important for creating the website, I think.
We could invite him to the next meeting if we want to discuss that.
Are we talking specifically about the WordPress side, or what do you mean more the structure of the proposal that I made?
For example, so far we are discussing to distribute the software for example Radot, or I don't know, but for example the broker container, I don't know, but such software modules should be distributed by using the GitHub, and so in such a case, maybe when the viewer click the resources and jump to the GitHub and get the software module, and the white paper is described on the GitHub is better or not. So maybe we can't decide such a direction about the technology software module distribution. Therefore, I think so.
Yeah, but it still wouldn't have a lot of impact on this proposal. It's more the structure of the GitLab you're talking about, right? And the content of GitLab.
Do you think you can you would like to keep using the GitLab? So maybe GitLab should be changed to the GitHub, and of course the current core members discussions should be discussed on the GitLab.
So I'm not sure I understand your point entirely. So the plan is not to put any of the content that's currently on the GitLab onto the web page, but everything, documentation, discussions, issues, repository, everything maintains on GitLab or remains there. So all I'm suggesting is pointing to the GitLab as an easy jump between the website and GitLab. But once you're into GitLab, that's kind of where you navigate and everything. But there's nothing active going on the Unimatrix website.
Please move to the page 2.
This one?
Yeah. You wrote the specification is GitHub.
Yeah, it's GitLab.
GitHub.
Yeah, it's called GitLab, but I think that's a sub-brand of GitHub.
It's two different sites for Git, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I caught myself in writing GitHub a lot of times. It's GitLab.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apologies for that.
I thought so. The official software distribution web page, distribution site should be changed to the GitHub.
Without the Unimatrix is already taken in GitHub, so it's not easy to change. Then we have to rename the project.
GitLab or GitHub?
On GitLab, we have Unimatrix as a project name, but you can't. It's already registered on GitHub by someone else.
Oh, so I'm really confusing here.
But they are competitors. GitLab and GitHub is competitors offering
right.
a similar product.
Right, but we're only using GitLab, right?
Yeah, so we are. So it's on GitLab right now. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'll make sure to make those changes as we go along.
But I saw that you had Docker on the web page. So that's one technical thing. Should we list which projects we are using or not? You are just listing Docker.
It was just in the lack of an appropriate artwork that I put in something here. What we put in could also be something completely different. So don't mind the graphics. I didn't put any.
I was just thinking about the technical information. If on a high level we should mention that we are building on these open source projects or not, or should that only be on GitLab technical documentation?
For your reference, so main open source software is handled on the GitHub. So can I share the page? For example, this is the OpenCD GitHub page, and this is the OSS developed by Intel, and so the source code and document shared here, and the explanation is described like this. GitHub. GitHub is the famous open source software distribution site. Therefore, so I thought so the distribution site would be renewed. No.
Not that I'm aware of. I've mistakenly put in GitHub. That confuses. It should be only references to GitLab.
Oh,
That's also the logo that I put in the GitLab.
the current size should be kept.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm not suggesting Git to GitHub.
GitHub is owned by Microsoft, and GitLab, I think, they are more Google friendly. It's but there are similar sites offering similar.
Which is better?
But we can't, since I can't register a project named Unimetrics on GitHub because that's taken. So it's hard to move it if you don't want to change the name. But I don't think it's a big deal right now if it's on GitLab or GitHub, since it's we have Git anyway. The functionality is about the same for us.
Yeah.
Maybe
in the future things will change with integration with developer tools and so on, depending on which developer tools we want to use in the integration with the GitLab, GitHub.
Yeah.
Which is effective for the developers to distribute and attract the companies?
Yeah, maybe it's not that important at this point. It's more important to be active in the, for example, Linux Foundation community, and I don't think it's critical for us which Git we are hosted on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the timeline is that I will add the about section. I'll clean up the Word file to contain the messaging that we agreed on today, and I will send that to you, Makoto-san, by the end of next week, so we can get that distributed, get maybe more members comments on it.
Yeah. And upload to the GitLab.
Yes, GitLab. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that concludes the call today. I will. I don't know if we need to set a new time for a new meeting. Maybe after the next GB meeting, we can set a new time to follow up. But right now, the task is to get this website built, and depending on what peers dialogue or what we can get from the Linux Foundation on reaching out through events, we should be able to discuss the next steps. Right now,
Per has contacted Scott and asked for a contact for us.
Okay, perfect. So we get that clarified. Perfect. So we did it in an hour.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So you're actually biking. Not that the background is moving, so you're not outside.
No, I could have a background moving as well if I want to.
Yeah, I guess.
So this is my wheel background. This is the bike simulator I'm running.
Oh.
Setup with a bike simulator and green screen.
So the more meetings, the better for you, for your health.
Yeah, and I get more fit.
That's cool.
But you're also biking, Jens. You have a road bike.
Yeah. Well, not a lot. I have a road bike, but I don't bike as often as I should. Maybe I should bring it to the office and install a trainer in here. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, okay, guys, thanks very much for today. I'll get it, as I mentioned, over to you, Makoto-san, and we'll take it from there at the next GB meeting.
Okay, thank you, Jens.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.